Hi everyone, this is Julianne Victoria of Through the Peacock's Eyes. Welcome to my next vlog. So I'm still answering questions from my return to vlogging video, and today I will address one of Rochelle's questions. Thank you, Rochelle. And she asked, how do you protect yourself from clients and others' pain and negative energy? So that's an awesome question. And this can apply to you, if you're a healer, if you do readings, if you're in any sort of nurturing, caretaking service, career, work, or that can even be in your personal life. This will also apply to, friends, family members who like to dump their pain on you or just very negative energy, and that leaves you feeling drained. So it's important to protect yourself. I wrote down a few things here. I made a little list. This is in no particular order, but the first thing I wrote down is to clear your space. So clear your office, clear your room, clear your house, clear your auric field of that person's energy when the session is over, or that negative family member goes home from the holidays or whatever it may be, or that friend who just sucks your energy away when they leave. You want to clear their energy out, because if you're hanging on to it consciously, unconsciously, it brings you down. It makes you feel heavy. It makes you tired, just overall exhausted. So clearing the space. So there are ways to do that. You can light candles and have that light help to clear the space. So when I worked exclusively with clients in person for probably 12 years, I always had candles going, and that for me it cleared the space before the client session, it cleared the space after, and it seemed to help me maintain my personal sense of balance as well. I don't always light candles now. Usually if I'm just feeling like it, I'll light the candles. Other ways to clear space is to burn sage. Some people like sprinkle salt. There's many other ways. If there's a way that resonates with you, go with that. Don't just do it because someone says it, but if it feels right. So if you're like, oh yeah, I love to burn sage, or I love to burn some sort of incense to clear my space, go with that. If you hate incense, you hate burning things, don't go with that. Go with what you like. But some sort of clearing. And the clearing could just be a prayer. It could be you visualizing the space clearing, so it doesn't have to be using anything physical. But some people also use crystals, things like that, to help cleanse and clear the space. So clearing your space, and when you're in that space, that helps to clear your energy as well. Now, the most important thing about clearing your space is that the process brings a clearing of your mind. So it's almost like the act of clearing your space, whether you say a prayer, whether you envision, white light, whether you burn sage. The act of doing it helps you mentally to release that client, to release their pain or that person's negative energy from you. So the act helps your own mind. If you're clearing the space, for example, and let's say you're burning sage and you're like, some people use a feather to brush it around. And while you're doing that, you're thinking about that client's negative energy and you're harping about it in your head. You're not going to clear your space. So you do need to let your mind be cleared as you clear the space, and let the clearing of your space clear your mind. Okay, so that way you can kind of mentally release any negative energy or any pain you take on. Okay, I hope that makes sense. The next thing I wrote down is have boundaries, energetic boundaries. So that can be a little tricky when it comes to working with clients, especially if you do any sort of intuitive psychic work, healing work where you're tapping into their energy. But you need to know where to draw the line. Like, okay, I've picked this up from them. Let's work with that information, versus, oh, I'm feeling this from them. And you sort of open yourself wide and you get flooded with stuff, whether it's purely energetically or you don't set the boundary of information they are giving you at once. So they, if you have, let's say you're a therapist and you're working with someone, you're an intuitive therapist and you're working with someone and they just come in and unload and rant on you without you saying, okay, let's stop and let's discuss that issue. And they're just bombarding you with their negative energy. You're letting them kind of mow down your boundaries. It's going to depend on your specific work or if it's someone personal you're talking to, like a family member or friend, it might be a little easier to do this, or harder. And just say, oh, okay, let's back up, go back to the boundary, and let's talk about that challenging situation you had. Let's talk about how you feel about what that person did to you. And put up some sort of boundary. It's kind of like a speed bump, you could say. And, they're obviously, people are unloading on you, whether it's their negative energy or they're pushing their pain on you. They're seeking help. They are seeking help. And though as the receiver of that, it feels like you're being attacked with it, you have to try to find that compassion, that understanding that, okay, they're hurting physically, mentally, emotionally, and they just want someone to listen. They want someone to hear them. They need to voice themselves. But you, as the other person, can slow it down. And when you slow it down, that the person, the client, the friend, the family member who's kind of spewing their pain, their negative energy on you, actually also gets to slow down and reflect upon what's going on. And that can help them to process and then release the negative energy. Okay, so boundaries, energetic boundaries, putting them in place, not to block the person, but to, one, protect yourself, to slow down what's coming at you. Two, so you can help the other person and help them slow down. So you're actually helping them rather than just being a victim of their negative attack, so to speak. Even if they're not consciously attacking, they're just they're seeking help, they're unloading, and that's just what some people are doing. Okay. I hope that makes sense. And then also putting those energetic boundaries down brings you, me, whoever the recipient is, peace of mind as well. You're like, okay, I'm not a helpless victim to this negative energy. I'm an active participant in the conversation. I can slow things down. I can stop things. We can work at this limit of this boundary, and we can do one at a time. If it's a client, you continue working, but you don't want to be flooded with all this negativity and just feel helpless. Okay. Now, let's say it's just, someone says one thing that's really negative to you. Again, it could be professionally, at work, a client, friend, family member. Or you encounter someone, your partner, your coworker, who just is in a really negative state often, maybe all the time. And you must engage with this person. Kind of an extension upon having boundaries is to have filters. And I've often recommend this for many of my clients, is to imagine, a lot of people say just imagine white light around you and you're safe and protected, which can be helpful. But what's a little bit more practical or can be relatable is to imagine a bell-shaped filter, or like a coffee filter, or like window screen material, chicken wire even. Imagine that around you. So it's something that's permeable, but it also doesn't allow everything in. And it's also not like a solid steel wall around you. So if you're like highly sensitive person, highly empathic, or you're just in a state in your life where you're just really sensitive to everything going on because you're working with a lot of stuff within yourself, Don't put up a steel wall around you. Don't put up something opaque, something so solid that you start to feel isolated from the entire world, that you get too much into your own mind. So you don't want that, and you don't want no boundaries, nothing, where even the smallest little negative comment totally sucks the life out of you, right? So you don't want to be isolated, and you don't want to be in a position where you're just mowed over all the time. You're bulldozed by every little thing. So the happy medium there is to have a filter or a screen. Just imagine a filter or screen around you, something permeable, so you can pick up information from other people energetically, psychically, intuitively, however. Yet there, if we use like the Windows screen material, this part of it can't get through. And you can say, okay, you set the intention. I want to pick up the information I need. And let's say if it's with a client, so I can help this person. But I won't take on, whether they're spewing it at me or I'm just don't want to take on personally in my own physical form, their pain, their negativity. Maybe take it on for a second so I get that information, then ask it to go. But set that intention to receive the information through that transparent, you can even maybe translucent. You can go between transparent and translucent, but not opaque and not non-existent. Pick up the information you need to help that person. Again, whether it's a client or a friend or a family member, or if it's someone you don't want to engage with, just the information you need to navigate around that person, and it blocks out what you don't want to come in or what you want to filter out once you get that bit of information. So filtering, a filter, basically. Put up a filter, and I kind of have a permanent filter. I get the information I need. I get the information that's important, that's helpful to my client, that's helpful to family members. And I will say, with people closest to me, my filter kind of gets really thin sometimes. And so I have to remember to not let it dissolve. But get all what you need. And sometimes you need some negative information, some unpleasant information, but just you take it in, say thank you, and put reinforce the filter. You don't need to keep getting that same information over and over and over and over. And yeah, then you're protected. Okay. Just looking at my notes here. Yeah. Now, sometimes there's times in some of our lives where, there's a close family member, a spouse, a partner, children, parents, close friends, co-workers, people you must engage with every day that you can't just, get away from because they're part of your everyday life. And they're constantly saying negative things, maybe not about you or directly to you, but they're just the ball of negativity all the time, and they're not open to listening. They haven't asked for help. They just want to be negative, downers, energy vampires. They're in this state and there's nothing you can do to help them, but you must be around them. You can thicken your filter. You can double layer your coffee filter around, but you still don't want to be totally blocked off, because when they're ready for help, when they want someone to be there, even if it's just, a teeny little bit, you need to be aware of that. Because they are your close friend. They are your parent, your child, your coworker, that in spite of the negativity, you actually consider a friend. You want to be there when they need you. So again, you don't want that steel wall. You don't want to block everything off. Again, you will feel isolated. That could lead to depression. That could just it's not a good feeling place when you feel like you're cut off from the whole world. So don't put up a steel wall, but you can thicken the filter if you need to, so you can function in a healthy way around someone that you must be around who is just oozing negativity. And hopefully, you know, that negativity will ease up. They'll get help they need. They'll heal from the injury that's making them so cranky all the time, you know, and you'll be able to pick up when they ask for help, even though it may not be them actually saying, I need help. Okay. I hope that is making sense. So it's really up to you. So I learned this after many very challenging relationships with very narcissistic people, so energy vampires, that it was my choice whether I left myself wide open to be bulldozed, to take on everything they were doing, because of course I could tell that they needed help, that they were in a way crying out for help, that they were hurting inside. But I was making myself completely unprotected. And so I got bulldozed. I got run over. I got, you know, completely worn out because I had no boundaries. And that's been personally a strong lesson for me, is to be assertive in my boundaries. And it's interesting though, professionally, I've not had that issue. I always had good boundaries with clients. And because I had that, I was able to realize, oh, I need to apply that to my personal life in some way. Doesn't mean you cut people off, because I realized you don't put up a steel wall, a solid wood fence, you know, something very solid and opaque to have boundaries. You still need to be able to connect to other people. And that's when I realized I need a filter, I need a screen, so I'm still connecting, but I have my boundaries in place and I'm aware of them, and I need to be firm with holding my boundaries to protect myself. It's not up to anybody else. And if I hold those boundaries firm, basically if I respect my own boundaries and respect my own needs, other people will. They cannot knock those boundaries down. They cannot stomp on the filter and squish it. They can't bend that window screen. And it's up to me to respect the boundaries, and then that's reflected by other people. Okay. All right, Rochelle. So to answer your question, yeah, I have a filter or a screen around me. When I picture it in my mind's eye, it's kind of like a white screen, so it's half filter, half screen. I clear my space if I need to. That's usually more so with negative energy of family members. But with clients, I have my boundaries. I've always been, again, good professionally with my boundaries, and so I have my energetic boundary, which is important for me to have. Again, it comes down to peace of mind and clearing the mind, especially because I work with clients online a lot now. You know, my clients are international. I'm not doing any in-person client sessions right now. So having that energetic boundary is important to me. And if some negative comment comes through, or someone's trying to dump their pain on me, I acknowledge that it's there. I don't take it on personally. I filter it back out, and I see what I can do based on that information to help the client. Okay. All right. Hopefully this video isn't too long. I hope this was helpful for anyone out there trying to understand, you know, how to protect yourself from negative energy, how to set boundaries. I hope it all made sense. And if you do have a question for a future vlog on any sort of spiritual topic or about me personally, and I am trying to relate the vlog discussions, the topics, with a personal experience or what I do, because I feel like that makes it more relatable to you guys watching out there. Do leave it in the comments below, and I will add it to my list, and I will get to it at some point. All right. Give the video a thumbs up if you found this helpful. Do subscribe to support my channel, and I will see you next time.